After the recent high-wire political drama within the Senate, many Kenyans have been waiting with bated breath for the action to move over to the National Assembly. And now it seems Kenyans don't have to wait any longer, because the latest is that the political purge that started in the Senate will now move into the National Assembly. And at the forefront, at the beginning of this purge, will be another party, not Jubilee. It will in fact be the opposition and NASA, or rather the previous opposition, which is now in a handshake arrangement with the government. I'm of course talking about the ODM party. It is now clear that assault will be led by Raila Odinga and his ODM party, which is the most powerful and influential within the NASA coalition that was involved in the 2017 elections. And the plan is to deal with no less than 10 legislators within the National Assembly. But before we go into that hot, sizzling story, a brief heads up. In the next video on this channel, which will be released very shortly after this one, we tackle a topic that most of the mainstream media have ignored, and yet it has far-reaching, devastating consequences on the country called Kenya going forward. And this is the impact of the virus manenos on Kenya's middle class. It is interesting that it seems that it is only Radio Africa in the mainstream media which is aggressively following up on this very key and important topic. Classic 105 on the Maina Kageni morning show recently covered this. And then there was a survey in Radio Africa's Star newspaper asking respondents whether they were up to date with their rent payment for their residences. There are some very, very important issues you need to urgently take note of. So don't miss that video. Right, on to siasa. Now, the political purge is targeted at supporters of Deputy President William Samoei Ruto, and those whom are seen as frustrating the president's agenda for his second and final term in office. It is targeting those not toeing the line of the handshake government and instead are promoting the interests and the agenda of Deputy President William Samoei Ruto, which has clearly come out now as being opposed to the agenda of the President of the Republic of Kenya. Now, out of the 10 legislators who are going to be dealt with, the two names that stand out are that of Minority Whip Chris Wamalwa, who's going to be removed, and Malindi legislator, very controversial, Aisha Jumwa, and the plan here is to de-whip her for 6 months from the committees she's involved with, including kicking her out of the very influential Parliamentary Service Commission. Now, Chris Wamalwa is of course the legislator for Kiminini constituency. Indeed, the constituency where my late mother was born. And it is said that the plan is to replace him with Tongaren MP Esile Simiyu. Now, Honorable Wamalwa is not a member of ODM. Yeah, he belongs to Fort Kenya. And so the way the handshake government is going to deal with this is by calling a parliamentary group meeting for the NASA coalition. And the idea is that once the NASA legislators have agreed on the strategy, Bwana Wamalwa, who's a staunch supporter of Deputy President William Samoei Ruto, will be gone. And no input is required from Jubilee legislators, the other side of Parliament. Because once the NASA coalition decides, it is done. Because all that has to happen is that the Speaker has to confirm that the correct procedure was followed in removing these 10 legislators from the various committees, and of course removing Chris from being minority whip. I don't know why I'm smelling the hand of James Orengo, the legal hand of James Orengo, in all these changes being pushed through Parliament. You see, never before in Kenya's history has the removal of parliamentarians from key positions in committees been used as a major political weapon. And that is why it has taken the opponents of the handshake government completely by surprise. So far, they've not found a way of dealing with it. And it is unlikely that they will. By the time they figure out a response, the purge will be all over. And it is very clear that the idea is to remove any influence of the Deputy President in Parliament. And these tactics being used are much more effective than trying to kick out somebody from your party, which is what Aisha Jumwa has survived previously. Actually, the Malindi legislator has been under siege for a very long time. And so it is unlikely that she'll be able to have anything much left in her to put up a serious fight against what is being organized against her in Parliament. You will remember that there was the case where she stormed a meeting and somebody got killed. Investigations on that are still pending. They have not been concluded. In fact, keen observers of the Kenyan political scene will have noticed that she has been quiet for a long time. She is no longer the very aggressive and noisy supporter of the Deputy President people were used to. And of course, when this ODM move is complete, it will send a very clear message to Jubilee legislators in the National Assembly. It seems that the tactical retreat that Kipchumba Murkomen was talking about will have to continue as the handshake government continues to use brute force to get things in order in both the Senate and the National Assembly. And it should also be very clear what the objective here is. It would seem that the handshake government is about to present some very important legislation in Parliament. And they don't want any opposition in pushing through the agenda. And indeed that is understandable, because President Uhuru Kenyatta does not have much time left in his term to fulfill promises made to voters. In 2 short years, Kenyans go to the polls, because it will be 2022. And obviously, that is a very short time left for the president to leave behind any semblance of a credible legacy. And so you can understand why the handshake government is in no mood for DP Ruto antics. It should also be noted that top on the list of the legislative agenda is the referendum. The referendum to change the constitution, so as to create more posts within the executive. The idea being to reduce the tensions, if not get rid of them completely, that Kenya always experiences when we go into an election. This is, of course, something that the DP Ruto camp has been very much opposed to, because naturally the deputy president wants to take over a presidency that is as powerful as the current presidency, and not a diluted presidency, with other posts included, like a prime minister. And it is also important to note that the National Assembly is key, in these plans. And that is why it should be clear that the whole idea here is to tame the National Assembly into submission, so that everybody is reading from the same script when these key bills are finally tabled. And this is the serious popcorn moment Kenyans should expect. Wachana na Senate. What we are about to witness shortly will be the real deal. Why do I say that? Well, the answer is very simple. We should expect that amongst the legislators, there will be the stubborn ones, the kichwa ngumu. And the handshake government has already shown us very clearly they are in no mood for kichwa ngumus. And therefore, we should expect some resistance. The Senate is made up mostly of older and slower people. But the National Assembly, that one is a totally different ballgame. I believe some people's cases will even go to court. Oh yes. Expect lots of drama. Nothing less. Until next time, this is Chris. Kumekucha.